foundation of the ego. If you concentrate on a strong object for a long time, I say you can maybe, that's super powerful, concentrating. It doesn't have the same thing. It gives you very pleasant, calm states of mind, and then everything comes back again when you get back to normal life and carrying on again. You get just as uptight. You actually you've only temporarily removed. I think it's good to have a temporary move. It's cooling, it's calm, it's lovely, it's blissful, it's peaceful. You can't even get like probably what we got here. By going on a holiday, you might go to Miami or something. You would get that peace of mind probably just by going from airport to hotel to beach to all those things, the clubs and whatever. All right. So should we resume a little bit where I was? Let's make yourself have a stretch as well. There's also walking meditation and moving, which you didn't even get to, but do bear that in mind. About 5:30 just after now, so we've got about another half an hour. And I mentioned about the Tipitaka, 3 Tipitaka baskets. The first is all about precepts, everything, like the Buddha made the rule, you name it. For every single one of the 227 rules there's a story. The monks found another monk having sex with a monkey, and so the Buddha said, okay, no having sex with animals. So actually you have to make a rule with it, somebody's always done something. And therefore, it's why you've got so many sort of naughty monks down like, all of the stories and all of the ins and the outs and all the different reasons why this happened, how those precepts all came about. Quite amusing stuff, quite interesting, very insightful into human nature at the time. But one whole book of the Tipitaka, the precepts. 2, sutta means a thread. So it's they're all stories, and there are long stories, medium-length stories, and then shorter stories, numbered stories, and then a whole bunch of other ones like verses, and I'll introduce you to those more full. But the second book is all about these stories. The Buddha was at the bamboo grove, he was meditating in the night, and along came an entourage up from the city, and they wanted to know from him, how come you blah 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 blah, and the Buddha said this and this and this, and then that happened. So they are actual stories, things that happened. Unlike this, which is the Abhidhamma, which is psycho-numerical, so it's like a huge calculation system of the analysis of our experience. Very complex, quite a weird thing. Not everyone likes it altogether. It's you have to have special training to be able to even get into it. It's said that when the Buddha first taught it, he psychically went into a heavenly realm. His mother had been reborn in a heavenly realm, and there was a great meeting of angels. And the angels listened to him as he, for 3 months, dictated. You know when you get these sort of like super kids who can do the pi to the number of 3.142, and they can remember the whole thing like that. It's a bit like that kind of thing. But for 3 months, the Buddha meditated, constantly transferring to them the knowledge. It's like the code of the internet sort of thing. And then every day he would come out of his absorption and then repeat what he'd just taught on the celestial realm to his chief disciple, who memorised it all, and then he would go and relate that to 100 monks, and they've all remembered it. So that's the kind of story. So, how you find that stuff in any kind of meaningful way? So that's the next question. Because you can go into a Buddhist library and you'll see those books, leather-bound books, and it's like, my God, where do you start? And he's usually translated 100 years ago by old British Christian scholars from Oxford, who write in very old English. Therefore spake the exalted one unto the brethren. It's very heavy going. It's not easy to read. Not even for me. Sometimes I really go, what? It's like Shakespeare. It's like very, very old. So it's quite difficult to get what's being said. Therefore, access to insight has appeared. Now, there's a American monk called Tanisaro who over the last 20 years or so has made this thing called access to insight, and it's free, it's on the internet, it's easy to use, so I want to show you it. So this is about tools. The other thing is like how you get into this stuff. Like when you start, you just like start on page 1 of here and just start reading those, or one of this. Because actually these are the longest ones, the medium length ones, and then the shorter ones, and then loads and loads and loads. And some of the most interesting ones are down here. So like you don't necessarily want to do it that way, but where to start. So I want to help you on those questions. Robin was saying about learning things chronologically along time. So that's another way you can think about doing it. Some things like this, which is inside there, questions of skill, take a topic that's useful, and within it you get a little bit of everything that's been picked out by someone who studied the whole bag. You know, this guy, like Access to Insight monk, Tanisaro, translated all of this into modern stuff. So then he went, right, so what do they need to know? So he thought, like, for example, one of the most important things was the Buddha taught people how to ask questions. So people come up and go, what's the capital of, Pakistan? And they don't know, and they would say, like, that's not a good question. A good question to ask would be, that he wouldn't just answer any old question, but he taught people how to form questions that are going to get them on the right path. Because often people are going around things the wrong way, because their whole quest is how to reach the end of the universe, how to split the atom, how to, and so on. Why should I, or where did I come from? Or, there are questions that, that will spiral people for years. Their whole life will be spent billions of pounds to make a digital model of chromosomes of the brain of their own personal model to find their self, and they look at it. So, questions of skill is a recommended reading. One of them that I've given, because it includes some of the best suttas, some of the key bits of some of the suttas, some of the key bits of some of these things in a good topic. The Buddha answered questions in 4 ways, so it's quite useful to know. He was teaching for 45 years, but he uses this system right from the beginning. So always people coming from all over the province, and every time he just went bam, 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 bam. And therefore he said, that's why he was able to sit under this tree so coolly and calmly, because he'd realised this was a way to do things. And he would give people, he would counter-question people, and he knew exactly when to do that. They would ask a question, he would just shoot a question back at them in the right way. He would give them an analytical answer. Can't really explain that right now, exactly what's meant by that, because it's a little bit involved. He would give them a categorical answer, and this was like something, bearing in mind, like someone with a photographic memory here, and they would come up and they would say, like, you're a bit young, and he would say, there are 4 things you shouldn't be judged by their age. And they were like, and he would give them a poof, and he would say, there's 4. And then another one would come up and say, he goes, there's 7. He goes, there are 8 ways in which that's true. They go, is it? What are they? And he'd go boop, 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 and they would be spot on like this. So these are also easily memorable. So these sort of 3s and 4s and 5s and 6s and 7s and 8s and 9s and 10s and 12s and 11s were also collected into one of these books. The one of these books here called the Numbered Collections. So because he was doing 45 years, there was a lot of them. So you got all the 11s and all the 10s and so on. So. And the other one was questions to put aside. So if people come up and say, how was the universe created? And he would just go, that is a question to be put aside. Oh, they could be discussing the answer for 3 months and then entangle and have a bloody war at the end of it all, and how it all happened. But the question, the Buddha knew which questions should be put aside and which ones led to the end of suffering. So very important point. Access to Insight is free and downloadable. So just to introduce you about that. Tools for exploring. Another one is the digital Pali Reader. I'll briefly explain what that is. I hope it's not going to play up. It's a little bit temperamental at times. This is a digital Pali Reader. It has the entire 84,000 suttas here. So I just said, like, the sutta group has long, medium, grouped and then numbered. Okay, so that Digha means long, and Majjhima means medium. Sangyutta means grouped, Anguttara means numbered. And then Khuddaka has lots of things in, I tell you that, like poems and the animal stories, like the talking animal stories. And then when the king came to an enlightened monk, the Bactrian king, Greek king, came and asked him like hundreds and hundreds of questions. And answered. So this is full of very, very readable stuff. BV means Buddha Vangsa, so that's the chronicles of the Buddhas, like of all of these past Buddhas. Jataka stories are the stories where the animals that could have been the previous the Buddha in past lives. Dhammapada verses. Anyway, I won't go into the whole collection, but Khuddaka really, really full. Anguttara, the numbered ones I just talked about. Abhidhamma, psycho-numerical ones. These huge, vast collections of matrix of psychophysical phenomena that he spoke for 3 months non-stop. Visuddhimagga, exposition on manual on meditating. Okay, so this thing was formed. I met the author of this and did a brilliant job. Basically, any of these words you can also click on, and it will give you the translation of it. You just click on that, and it will give you the translation of it. So that's a digital Pali Reader. It's a really good way to learn the structure of the books. But this one is only Pali. But it's a good way to get familiar with the structure of it, which is something I want to talk a little bit now as well.
So that's the site, Digital Pali Reader?
Yeah, you can just download it. If you look up Digital Pali Reader and just download it. It's not even very big. It's only like 50 megabytes. It's like ridiculously small it includes like tons and tons of stuff. It also has some other useful tools within it. One of them is the dictionary. It takes a little bit of getting used to so that you can translate Pali words into English and find the meaning of words. Also English into Pali. It's a little bit temperamental, it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I don't know, like the word like old, you might be able to, it's my work, it doesn't always kick straight in. And it can be a little bit caught up because it uses flash. So presumably one of these words means old. And then probably mantanal. Yeah, oh there you go.
So we go to digitalpalireader.com.
Just put Digital Pali Reader in Google search and it will take you to the right one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you better download it. It probably is not that site, not .com. It's another one, but nothing. But for some reason, that's the last thing I was looking up on here about mantra. It seems to be doing a bit of that. Yeah, I don't know. This version I've got. Oh, there you go. So Jara, very used a lot. Is the meaning for old. So a useful tool. Pali is a bit of a business on itself. You can't really get round it for too long before having to encounter it. I can't go into too much detail, but one of the other tools. So that word Jara, if you wanted to search the entire library, I'll do it now. And this is it, searching the Digha Nikaya, the Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and the Khuddaka Nikaya, and it searches it, and then it shows you exactly where it crops up and how many times. And any of these, if you want to know what Jara Maranasati means, you just click on it and it takes you right to it. Very useful, very powerful. If somebody starts anyway, as an ongoing tool for serious students, this very, very handy thing has done it. So it just went through the entire 84,000 and showed how many times that crops up in the books. Pretty good, isn't it? So yeah, and on and on and on. Then it will show you where that shows up. For example, like that, which in the very first book of the first book, Mangala Sutta, in this story, it shows up there. and that's a very, very significant bit of text as well. That's one of the first times the Buddha teaches the dependent origination, how things come to be, and it'd never been taught before. He's saying that that when there is Vedana, when there's feelings, craving arises, and craving is the cause of grasping. And grasping causes birth or becoming, and birth causes bhavo, causes birth, but becoming causes birth. Jati, birth causes aging, death.
What kind of languages is
Pali.
But where people speak to it?
Yeah, they spoke it in the Buddha's area. It's that northern Nepal, southern, northern India, around that Magadha, the kingdom's called at that time. Okay, pretty hard. These are ones a bit more hard work than access to insight. Access to insight, much easier to use. So let's have a quick look at that. So access to insight, much more worthwhile you're getting. But I think everyone ought to get, if anyone's serious, should try and get that one, at least to have it. And I just want to show you the power of it. I want to show you the power. I don't want to be showing off about Pali or anything like that. Just want to show you that that is a really useful facility, can be used, very much so. Access to insight, much easier for beginning stage people to use. It comes up. I've got an offline version. I find it pretty handy, but also if you're ever online, it's available, but it's downloadable, and I'll show you a couple of ways that you can use it. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. If you want to look up something like anger, there's a common one I quote for some reason, but you can do it under the subject. So if you want to look through the Tipitaka according to the subject, you can do it like that. If somebody says blah 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 sutta, you can look up the name of it from there. Yeah, they say, you should see the Migadajaya Sutta, Miga. Alright, look up Miga, and you can look it up from there. It'll then give you the A to Z. If you want to, I've been talking about Sariputta or Ananda, the key, the Buddha's, secretary of the photographic memory. You would find about him there, or a bhikkhuni, like bhikkhuni. Similes, really useful. I'll quickly show you through all this. So, like the Mangala Sutta, we were just looking at that one on Digital Pali Reader. So if you wanted to find out what that actually looks like, you would go to there, B, and then look up Brahmajala. Don't tell me he hasn't put it in there. I don't think... Oh, it does surprise me. Okay, that one he hasn't put in. Alright, never mind. Yeah, anyway. So, typical. Or the Mahasatipatthana would be a really common one that's going to be in there. Mahasatipatthana Sutta, for example. Everyone talks about that one. Because it's the discourse on the 4 frames of reference, or the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So that's one way you can use this. There's the index of suttas, the 17 things by sutta. We'll just go back. If you ever want to use this, you use this little icon here to go back to that home page. Just select over. So, searching things by subject would be the next one. Say like anger. Anger. So, if you want to find out from the suttas what the Buddha said about it, anger as the only thing that's good to kill. Or what to do if someone is angry with you. So let's have a look at that one just to see what... heard on one occasion that the Blessed One was staying near Rakkhita in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Then the Brahmin Akosa Bharadvaja heard that a Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan had gone forth from the home life into homelessness and become a monk in the presence of the Blessed One. Angered and displeased, he went to the Blessed One, and on arrival insulted and cursed him with rude, harsh words. When this was said, the Blessed One said to him, "What do you think, Brahmin? Do friends and colleagues, relatives and kinsmen come to you as guests?" He said, "Yeah. Yes, Master Gautama. Sometimes friends and colleagues, relatives and kinsmen come to me as guests." "What do you think? Do you serve them with food, or staple and non-food staple foods and delicacies?" Things like rice and savoury things. "Yes, sometimes I serve them with foods and delicacies." And if they don't accept them, to whom do those foods belong? If they don't accept them, Master Gautama, those foods are all mine. Well, in the same way, Brahman, that which you have insulted me, who is not insulting, that with which you have taunted me, who is not taunting, that with which you have berated me, who is not berating, that I don't accept for you. It's all yours, Brahman, it's all yours. So leaves him shamefaced in front of everyone else. So whoever returns insult to one who is insulting, returns taunts to one who is taunting, returns a berating to one who is berating, is said to be eating together, sharing company with that person. But I'm neither eating together nor sharing your company, Brahman. It's all yours, all yours. Yeah, so and so on. So that's a very famous and well worthy of thinking about. So that's how you look for something under a subject, and you'll get sort of like these things which are actually whole talks on those subjects. Yeah. So a little bit about that. Let's go back to home again. That's one way to navigate around this, is just using that. By proper name, like let's look like Ananda. This is famous. Ananda, this one here. The guardian of the Dhamma, the Buddha's cousin, half-brother, blah, blah, blah. So he's mentioning all these suttas because he was, constantly next to the Buddha and listening to all his teachings. Alright, so that's how he'd find places and people. Kosa Bharadvaja was the one here who just got insulted in that the Buddha showed him up when he came to insult the Buddha. So, home, how to navigate. And simile is very useful. It's like the Buddha was very eloquent and very well, he spoke in very good picture words. All these here, I've been gone through in ABC order of picture words where he would describe things that are to do with meditation. Yeah, those pictures. So they're worth going through, like dung beetle, when he talks about pride, you've seen those dung beetles that roll a lump of mud in a ball of mud in front of them. They just roll it, and it gathers mud and gets bigger and bigger, and they just keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it, and often they get caught on it and they get squashed as it rolls over. But he said a person with pride is like that. They roll along with a ball of mud in front of them that gets bigger and bigger as they swell up. So many similes and pictures. All this like donkey that thinks it's a cow. It was about a monk who was following. There were all these like noble monks walking on their bowl, and he was walking along the back going, "All right," and he really thought himself really good, but he actually didn't fit in, and he didn't follow any of the rules. But he just like thought he was really, really good. So the Buddha was like, "Have you ever seen a strung of really well-trained cows?" And at the back there's this donkey walking along. He said like people who are insincere with regard to the Dhamma are like that.
I know.
Don't we all? Yeah, there you go. So on and so on. So these are many of these. Look at all of these, like this, and that's a very good way of exploring the suttas, because it's, they're interesting. Like, what's this about? Head of a snake, sensuality, or head on fire, a turban on fire. The Buddha said like someone who's got wrong views. He said they should be. Think about is that someone who's got a turban that's on fire, they should put it out like really quick. They shouldn't hang about and have a discussion. They should just put it out as quickly as possible. So there are many of these that are amusing, colourful, and bring it to life, and are easy to use as well. Tons of it. I went through this and got photographs which fitted many of these as well, like acrobats. I get lots of photographs of acrobats to bring that sort of like more to life, which is something also with more time we can go through. And just briefly to show you, there is a quite good study subjects here and study guides as well. But the whole thing's about befriending the suttas, self-guided tour of the Buddha's teachings. Many things, I've never been throughout the whole of this because it's just so vast. It's a huge study. The site map down the bottom is very useful because at a minimum what you get, as well as tons of other things here, is the actual same, like you had in Digital Pali Reader, the actual whole thing, the whole Tipitaka. So any of these would be worth looking at, especially because what he's done is a synopsis, a little 3-line of each one. This is really hard to find. It's one of the few places I've found it where he goes through. He doesn't do every single sutta, because like this is number 2, this is number 9, this is number 11, so there's some gaps. But usually that's because the one in the middle is a bit similar to the one before, they've just changed a little thing. But even just to sort of read these 3 lines, like in this one, King Ajatasattu asked the Buddha, what are the fruits of the contemplative life visible in the here and now? And the Buddha replies by painting a comprehensive portrait of the Buddha's teaching and training. So you kind of like, oh, okay. You sort of see what's in there. You know, that could be like 25 pages long.
So they're like blurbs?
Yeah, exactly. And so they're nice and easy and quick, and you can skim, which is really, it's hard to find any place for skimming in the suttas. But this is a really good place where just sort of like, you know, sums up in one go. Sort of, and this is, the Buddha explains how skillful action can result in the best kind of long life, beauty, happiness. Alright, you know, put it aside, move on to the next one. But it saves you time, so you can have a sort of global overlook of what's useful and what's interesting where, and how to go through it. Or yeah, like I don't know, any of these other things, or the Terigata, those are the nuns, the verses of the enlightened nuns. Might be interesting for someone to look. So any of these are written by enlightened nuns. A mother conquers her grief over her daughter's death, and the nun tells a story about it. So that's access to insight. Let's get back to this one now. We're going too far into those. So those two tools are, from my experience, very, very valuable. Chronicles of the Buddha is something I haven't had a chance to get onto. And just as a very brief introduction, that when we're talking about meditation, these are the central core teachings. Dependent causation, I read out the Pali of that, how feelings cause craving, craving causes attachment, attachment feeds ignorance, and that causes the cycle of craving to continue and to amplify. And that's a very main teaching. The 5 aggregates that we're made up of, whether you're male, female, or anything, English, German, or whatever. Body, feelings. Feelings means the pleasure scale of the body, and pleasure and unpleasure, the whole range of those, and the pleasure and displeasure scale of the mind, just whether it's pleased or neutral or displeased. And then perceptions, just judging, disliking, liking, naming, labelling, identifying, recognising, all those kind of things. And all of the conditioning that goes before it, the whole education, everything, all sort of strategies and skills, language, everything falls into that's in that type of, like, Facebook now does facial recognition. So it will recognise, Robin Blasco, like that, will do facial recognition. Same sort of thing, that part of the mind that does all of that processing. And then the mind state. So you can have the facial, you can have recognition going on, but you don't know what kind of mind state will come up with it. It can be like liking, it can be disliking, it can be jealousy, it can be envy, it can be restlessness, it can be doubt. So those are mind states that come together with that perception going on. And there's a few tools in there, like the focal area where you're looking at or listening to, and attention, the attention to the eyes, ears, mind, body. So attention, intention, what's the intention part of the mind, and effort and willpower and decision making. So there's quite a lot that goes in. There's 52 altogether, and then the 6 sense doors. But that makes up the 5 aggregates. And contemplation, like specific analytical understanding of the way that the 5 aggregates work, essential for vipassana. It's also used in the rules stuff. So you have like there's an object, like a projector screen, so an object. So like someone's found walking out the door with it. Oh, what are you, what are you doing? So like the object of the thing was, were you stealing something? So that it had an object, and it had a perception. I thought it was anyone could take it. The perception was there. The intention was there. I wanted to take it home. And the effort was there, and then there was a result. Robin called the police or something. So events are looked down in this 5-fold analysis through all those 227 rules, or all the way that morality is looked at is looked by that. It's not just judged, on a sort of very subjective way. It's done in a very, very analytical system for everything, whether it's vegetarianism or food or clothing or property or all the things that relate to all of those things. The Four Foundations of Mindfulness, which is a very important Vipassana practice. The Eightfold Path, which is the pagoda structure I showed you, with Sila, Samadhi and Panya, the morality, meditation and wisdom. Can't go into it too much deeper than that for now. Often that's either used as numerical formulae, like the 12 steps of dependent origination, the 5 blah blah, the 4 blah blahs. There's 37 of those, there's 8-fold path, all that numerical stuff. Or just characterised stories, and there's lots and lots of characterised stories, like the one of Bharadvaja, the insulter. That's a characterised story, it's not numerical. And quickly, before we get to sort of 6 o'clock, so I assume people want to get to go somewhere. And suttas that only relate mainly to lay life, to this central action. So a lot of these obviously relate to monks and nuns and monasteries and so on, and a little more removed life. And these two are guidelines that are stock standards for people wearing shorts and t-shirts. You know, that's a different set of stuff. The Mangala Sutta is 38 ways to happiness. The Singular Avada Sutta is pretty huge and covers good guidance for healthy, wholesome social lay life, and they're frequently done. This is a map. Digha Nikaya is how many books there are in each of those books. Like when you look at digital Pali Reader, Digha's, there are 13 in the first book, 13 stories that are quite long ones, like big key ones like the Satipatthana Sutta, very famous one. The last days of the Buddha, the Parinibbana, when he actually died, so that's like a big epic, you know, like many things are described about how he actually died. He died of food poisoning, and then all the arahants came together and they all meditated and watched, and it was a big event. So that would be in one of these. So they're all kind of major ones. 13. 13, 10, and then 12. Then you've got the middle length ones. 10 of them, 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 apart from the last one's got 12. So there are that many of those there, 152. But if you've got a picture of how it is, it makes it a little bit easier. Sangnyutta, they mean kindred, mean grouped sayings. All of these ones are very nice, they're verses, and they include ones where I've talked about where the devas come down and quiz the Buddha. And that's all in this, well, that one is the Devas ones. So all of these, like that, the story of the insulter is in that one, for example. So I don't want to go too deep, just to show you a mapping that's worth also getting familiar, so that you can, you know, recall roughly what you've been looking at or where to go and find it again. Oops, I haven't done that. There's a book called this, Lessons on Basic Buddhist Culture, really recommended reading, and Robin scanned it, brilliant. So we've got a copy of that now, free PDF and distributed, so I really recommend that. Again, because it includes these two suttas, and it includes a sort of wrap up of them. That comes from Burma, and it's really, I think, very indispensable. Okay. Those 3 sections I just showed you, long, middle and group. The next one is called Kudaka, which I showed you. It's got like lots of things in. I really recommend beginning introduction people, or people sort of entering in and learning a bit more, to look through these ones. The Dhammapada verses and stories. Dhammapada is a pada is a footstep or a poem, and Dhamma, so they're little sort of like Dhamma little footsteps, and each of them have a story. So often they're like little 4-line things, and they're only very, very small. It's like the mind is the forerunner of all things, just like an ox footsteps pulls the cartwheel along behind it. Huh? It's like the first one, you know. And they're very short, and then it'll go. So the origin story was once upon a time. And yeah, sort of like quite a long story, but not too long. So there's somewhere in the region of 500 verses, I think it is. There's a lot. It's up in those sort of numbers, 500 of these little 4-liners, and because of that they encompass the main points of the teaching, so they're quick and easy to remember. Similarly, King Milinda, who was the Bactrian king, who found this enlightened monk called Nagasena, whose name means army of dragons, and just kept firing questions. I don't get it. So rebirth, is it the same person who's reborn again, or is it a different person? You know, they're fair questions actually, and because they're fair questions, many people also, it occurs to them, or they actually ask them every year or everywhere. So they're a good range of questions, and he gets the answer and he goes, yeah, I think I know what you mean. No, give me another illustration. And he goes, well, you know, the lessons of mathematics that your teacher taught them, you know, are they the same ones that went from his head to your head, or they wrong? And he goes, well, that one led to this one. And he goes, well, it's the same way. You know, that's how one life goes to another one. For example, he goes, yeah. You know, one candle lights to another one. Is it the same flame that goes over? He goes, no, it's caused by the other one that goes over. He goes, it's the same way. So he gives them illustrations that are kind of like quite novel. The Jataka stories are quite good fun. They're not to be taken too literally seriously as the Buddha's past lives, in my opinion. Although they could be. They were when the Buddha was developing upwards to become he hasn't become a Buddha yet, previous lives. So he was still developing. So often they do that. There's quite a bit of sort of poisoning people and pushing people off cliffs and gouging people's eyes out and stuff in there that's quite boisterous. It's like Tom and Jerry, you know. so very lively, a lot of talking elephants and crows and squirrels and stuff like that. But quite good fun. Many morals, stories wrapped up in there. Pettas and Vimanas, hungry ghost stories. Like, don't cause someone else to have abortion through poison things, or this might happen to you. You know, so they saw this woman walking along with, you know, vomiting blood and, you know, and wailing her existence, and she said that in her past life, you know, she had done all that. So it's those kind of like stories. Vimana is the opposite, where they go into heavenly realms and they see these people swimming in lotus ponds with like excellent, you know, incense around and beautiful views. They say, what did you do to get here? And they said, oh, I just meditated and I just offered, I made an aspiration and blah blah blah. You know, good rewards for good behaviour and bad rewards for bad behaviour lives. So these are quite interesting. And the Buddha Vangsa, the Chronicles of the Buddhas, which you can give you copies of. Alright, so just to give you a round view of the entrance into this enormous, colossal city called the Buddha's teachings. Yeah, this looks like an elephant footprint. But those kind of formulas, like this one, is very good to understand using this. That's one of the best books I've come across. This is very quickly. Well, I don't know if there'll be out of time. This is the index of the book I was just talking about, Lessons on Basic Buddhist Culture. Like, this is about the discourse on Mangala Sutta on blessings. Like, it just goes through lots of these, 4 of this, the 10 of this, the 7 of those, sort of guidelines that are structured. The Mangala Sutta is, I made it like this. There are 38 things, it's not a very good photo, but like avoiding fools, like gangsters, like playboys, playgirls, something like that. Associating with the wise, honouring the worthy, having a suitable place to go to, like this. Having done past merits, having, you know, like, done charitable works, keeping your body and your mind well, learning much, skill in arts and crafts, moral training, like taking the precepts, learning to speak well, caring for parents, caring for partners and children, and all of this half are sila. They're all life morality ones, and then ones on samadhi, like the attitudes of mind, like respect, humility, contentment, gratitude, listening to Dhamma, patience and obedience. And then the ones to do with insight meditation, like we're practicing. So, ways to make it approachable. That other one there was a map of the Buddha Vangsa, the Chronicles of the Buddhas, just that I mapped out more or less what was in it. But it's a bit scribbly to go through, and we're up to about 6 o'clock as well. So, really recommend this one. This is the Mangala Sutta. Let me just quickly show you that. Yeah, like these kind of things. 4 polluting actions, 4 evil ways, the 6 causes of misfortune, 6 disadvantages of drink, of strolling around at night, indulging in gambling, indolence, 6 bad friends, or false friends, you know? Right, really, really clear and very good to refer to. You know, people ask me about drink. You know, I say, "What's wrong with having a drink?" You know, so well, 6 things are. You know, like this, you go, "Oh, pretty good." You know, that's how the Buddha did it. You know, people come up to him and say, "You're pretty young," and it's there are 4 things. Shouldn't be judged by being young. One is a fire. You shouldn't just see a little fire. It will go out by itself because it can grow up to be. Another one was a snake, because they can just bite you just as much as a big one. Another one was a young prince, because when they get elderly they might sort of like remember what you said, you know. And the other one is a young monk, a novice, or an arahant, because they might have super psychic powers. You know, turn you into a frog. And the novice is doing, turn people into frogs. Yeah, so just a little bit of what we can get into. Alright, so I think it's probably around enough without putting anything more. Yeah, it's kind of come full circle. Right, so there we go. So, yeah, I recommend that you proceed on. I think you made the right step in checking out the group. And you can see how full the field is, and navigating it is no mean feat, I tell you. And you can waste a lot of time, or you just spend a lot of time trudging and dredging through some of this stuff to find out how to use it. You know, it's quite difficult. So my aim is to form a way of guiding you, and also we've only really covered the more academic sort of side of it. There's a lot of contemporary things, like Buddhist Geeks radio station in the States, in Boulder, Colorado, and they'll have just like, you know, modern interviews with a yoga teacher who's now teaching insight meditation or something, or neuroscientists who've just been doing neuro brain imaging or something like that. So this is only to get an anchoring. I always recommend this: you get an anchoring and a grounding in Theravada Buddhism and understand at least where to go to see the authentic stuff, and then, you know, go out a little bit from there and look at sort of some of the Mahayana contemporary teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh or Master Cheng Yen, or many things that are going on that are colourful surrounds. But having a good anchoring in this means that you've got your own reference points where you can go and check back on the old things. Ooh, it's 6:15. Yeah. A lot more I'd like to go over, but time is...
We still have next week.
Yeah. So please come back next week. Do bring a friend if you want to. And I'm Facebooked up. If you've got questions, you can just literally send anything anytime.
And just give, especially if you want all these materials that Bante mentioned, just bring a stick, and they're all for free. But if you get them through me, they're $100 each.
That's why you'll never be a Buddhist.
What does Rakkhita mean?
Protection, or protector, or guardian. Normally, all these Burmese monks say, you can't just be called Rakkhita, it's got to be either called Dhamma Rakkhita or Buddha Rakkhita or something Rakkhita, you know, it can't just be called guardians. But I like it. I wanted to be called Nagasena, which is like army of dragons, and I went, oh no.
Who gave you the name?
They gave me the option to choose one, and I went, and that's what I said like Nagasena, because I like the thing of it, but they say, oh no, something a little less, you know, a little more.
But you can use your English name anymore? Not even when
Just stop me. I mean, some people do it, and for ages, like on this, to not just lose all my old friends in one go, you know, when they're ordained, I kept my old name on my Facebook, and I put this in brackets, Venerable Rakkhita Samanera, and then gradually sort of shifted it around, and after a while they dropped that off. So like, you know, people have had like 4 years to decide whether to stay in touch. Enough, isn't it? So nothing.
Your passport, you need to use
That's still the family name thing.
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah.
Norris.
Yeah. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's meant to just inspire you. You know, like that's my thing.
What it means, Manera?
It's the training level. I said they've got 119 precepts. You've got a Samanera.
Because if he goes up a higher level, if he goes up the hierarchy of monastics, he has 200 plus. He can't do this. We can't even sit down on chairs.
Yeah, many things.
You can't even be in a room with a girl.
Yeah, if you get that PDF also, that Buddhist Basics, they're all in there. You can read through the...
I think he has already reached that level wherein it's really ideal that he can still mingle with the world in a way
still
that
be approachable.
he's still approachable, but at a certain point if he goes higher, it's not approachable anymore. We'd have to go to a monastery to get this kind of a teaching. So it's quite, I feel it's quite rare for someone like him, because I feel he can go all the way up if he wanted to, but it's like choosing like the bodhisattva, where you choose to be only up to this level, so
for the benefit
of other people.
Yeah, like the Buddha that is with one leg on the ground.
Yeah,
that's really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're having this every Sunday at exactly the same time. So hopefully, I mean, there's so much, and I think this is so. As you can see, it's like just the tip of the iceberg, just a bird's eye view of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But hopefully, little by little, as we go week by week, we go deeper into, let's say, each of these things. Like the 5 aggregates, we just talked about it for less than a minute, but I'm sure we can talk about it for days, continuously.
It's so vast, you know. It's like you've got to be careful just to expose it. I'm not overexposed to any of it, but also to give you the choice. Go, I like that bit, you know, I want to choose on that. Then you can explore it and then come and discuss it. Yeah, because it won't suit you all, you know. Like some of the dictionary, or someone will go, yes, you know. And other people with the pet hungry ghost stories, yes. You know, and other people with animal stories, but others go, oh, no, not animals. Different on the temperament. Or none of this stuff. Some people just can't stand any book stuff at all, and they want something that's just, you know, something else. And there's a lot of other stuff, chanting, or there's a lot of, you know.
The most beautiful thing about this is that the more you study it, actually the more you will know that this is really something else. Because especially if you've had some psychology, analyticals, and all of that scientific. Because I was a biologist and before, and when you read through it, you will notice that things that have just been discovered lately, biologically, has been there 2,000 years ago. It's already been there. Like there's some of these suttas actually wherein actually the Buddha described where a baby is actually contained, and he mentioned what the anatomical part on the top, on the sides, on the back, and at the bottom. Actually, and then I looked at an anatomy book that I had when I was in medicine, and then it was almost like he was describing that book.
To the smallest detail,
galaxies and all of that, things that there was no actual technology available to be able to do that, and yet it's there. So actually, when I start getting deeper into it, you discover, wow, this is not just somebody out there who was very smart who actually, said a lot of wise things, but you would see that there must be something really quite magical in all of this. Because when I studied the Bible. I read it 3 times when I was book cover to cover, including including the books that nobody reads, like Numbers, right? And I read it 3 times back and forth and over that, and a lot of commentaries. But when I go through this, it's like, wow, like that psychonumerical thing. I also tried reading it. It's like hundreds. You would imagine it's like a magical. To me, it's like a magical map of the mind.
You know what you are saying? You are actually describing the Sohar, the Book of Splendor. So I'm very excited of.
It's really worth getting into. So I hope we have most of you, if not all of you, next week and continuing. So how many are planning to go back next week, or at least? Not sure.
I have a medical mission.
Okay. So if you have medical missions, that's a good excuse.
You can view the video.
But you have to tell me so that we can, you know, if this space is eventually not enough, we have to move somewhere else. Like downstairs. I don't know how to manage that, but we have to work it out. But you just have to tell me how many. Yeah, you have to confirm. But obviously, because now I know we're just 7 or 8, so then we can keep this room. Even maybe up to 15 we can stay in this room. But once we go over
70,
then we have to start looking at
moving around
this place.
Sure.
Because this is quite comfortable, right? But we wouldn't want to limit it just to this room.
Yeah.
So I think, so that's why I need to, you know. So you'll bring a friend.
Yeah, well, I will ask her, and because I want to invite Aurora, and Aurora is very unpredictable. Like last week, I mentioned about it, and she really wanted to come, but then last minute she went to the beach.
So beach is not a good medical mission.
So yeah, I really need to go.
Okay, sure.
This is alone since we left. So time for him to eat and go.
Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for being here. Thank you so much. Guys, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'll see you next week, definitely. Take care,
See you.
guys.
Bye.
Hey.